Okay, and we are back. So this is, I'm not sure what part this is. I'm not sure if this is gonna be the first one I upload or the second, third. I don't really know. But we are going over Pot. He received some changes that brought out all the Pot down players. They were rejoicing. I know they were all happy with the changes. I got a boy here. I'll put his socials above. Adam, say hi.
Hello.
There we go. But yeah, going over the changes that he got. There was quite a lot. One thing that was different from him and Zato, where Zato only had a couple, sadly, but Pod got a whole fucking page, it seems like. So I'll start off with the first question. Overall, what it's looking like a positive? It's looking good?
Yeah, you know, this patch, it's been a little bit interesting because Pot did get hit in a few areas, but overall did receive a lot of buffs, especially with the far HS change. You know, getting 5H out as a hard knockdown on airhit is pretty big. But overall, yeah, Pot seems to be in a really good position this patch, as now he's a lot more consistent in getting Oki, which is something he's struggled with these past few seasons.
Yeah, so I did see the change on the 5H. I think that was actually the first thing that you brought up when I asked you about the changes. This seems to be pretty good. I know that the Wild Assault, I know White Wall Assault getting nerfed is probably... Pot didn't use it the best, but he probably... Would you say he relied on it the most?
Yeah, so if you want, we can talk about the universal changes first with Pot, just to be blocking here. The thing is about Pot, he typically would like to use White Water Saw in two scenarios, as he doesn't have a lot of movement speed. He would typically try to White Water Saw at this spacing in order to get a 50-50 guard crush, where, you know, your opponent either had to hold a Pot Buster or a close slash because of how close you were. The issue is that's gone now. It is a -3 scenario, but it's not the worst for Pot, because blocking at -3, typically around like this spacing, you know, your opponent's not really going to be able to punish you. You're going to be able to backdash, or even if they're pressing far slash here, press far slash. You know, Pot's going to be able to Mega Fist over as an RPS. It's still RPS, but there's going to be a lot more situations now where Pot can't just recklessly spend it, especially during a block string, to restart his turn and to get pressure.
Got you. Okay. And what would you say was, looking at the notes, what would you say was the biggest change?
So, I mean, just the biggest change in general is probably the first one that we can go over, which is 5H. 5H is relatively, as you guys can see, a long disjoint, but the thing about 5H is when your opponent jumps and you're able to connect off of far slash. So last patch they added that far slash 5H now combos in the air. So this becomes an Oki scenario where Pot's gonna generally be about like +7 and get good Oki with a close slash or a throw.
And how does the change to, I didn't read, like, because there were so many freaking notes about the one move, but Heavenly Potemkin Buster, what did they change with that move? Because I've seen memes on Twitter, I've seen like the hitboxes. What's going on?
Heavenly is okay. There's some really technical stuff about it. I'll dumb it down though, where essentially Heavenly is now detecting whether or not your opponent is at a higher position than you. And because of the larger hitbox, it's going to grab anyone that's in front of you and in that range. The best example to show here would be dudes like close slash hoof stomp. I don't remember.
I can try is it maybe?
Well, the point is that I think it's on Oki. So if you do two, just knock me down. If you do like a meaty hoof stomp, yeah, there we go.
Oh,
now, last patch, Pot would get hit out of this, and it was kind of annoying to see your opponent in the air and not be able to catch them. But now this is going to be relatively doing it. Not only that, what HPB is also doing this patch is essentially it's better scaled at the end of combos. So typically when you do a combo, you would want to do something like Gigantorkai here, because Gigantorkai, you know, pretty decent damage here. You know, what 303. The thing about Heavenly now is it's considerably worth it's considerably worth doing Heavenly as a break now, because of the new scaling, where it's actually gonna just pump out a lot more raw damage. If I could have set you the counter hit, I could have done something else.
Yeah, I actually did.
You see, yeah. If you want, can you try like do like a really large startup on
like 6K?
I can just show off. Yeah, do like a really large start off, and I can show off like where it really matters if you want to like cut to that.
Sure, so
Just fuck. It may be because you're. It actually may be because you're Sin. Hopefully not. It's tight, but this is like the best example I could show people.
And then what, it's gonna fall onto the... Oh?
Yeah. Oh, look at your health. It's like, this is gonna be perfect for you to cut to.
Holy well.
Yeah, as you can see there, HPD just cranks damage on scaled combos now. Before that used to do nothing. So it's a big change. Another change as well with the 5H, going back to that real quick. Whenever you get a hard knockdown, or you're going to be able to route your combos a bit differently with pot now. We do have the 5H like this, you know, nice and good. But let's say you get a DP bait.
Oh,
and you go for a punish here. You're going to be able to 5H.
Oh, shit.
I dropped it there, but you understand the point.
Yeah.
It's also possible with Hammerfall, because Hammerfall also has a new hard knockdown property. It's also possible to route in the air, so just jump in the air for a quick.
Before we get into Hammerfall, let me ask you. No. I want to ask, because I remember you bring this up earlier. With the 5H change, like how you showed the combo, what is the point of Pod's newest move?
Yeah. Heat tackle, I've had my gripes with heat tackle, because the problem with heat tackle is it's good and bad. And on P normals, this is always going to be your best P normal conversion, because it's the only thing you can convert from, which is huge. The problem is now with the new changes, it's kind of just been overwritten to be really used in combos. Yeah. Maybe in certain safe jab scenarios, it's going to be useful. Like, if I want to do something like this, it's not bad because this gives good Oki. Yeah, it's not really worth anymore as a combo starter, because things like jump in the air again, things like pot anti-airing like this is just so much better as it covers space, and also you're just going to be getting a flat out close slash or pop buster mix.
I see. And also, did they change his grounded throw?
Yes. This change, okay, this change is a minor change, but it actually affects Pot a lot at the highest level. Pot used to, when you would throw mid screen, sometimes the character would be slightly launched farther or slightly launched closer. Mm-hmm. The issue where this matters is the plus frames are now different, which means in corner, DP on wake up. In corner, this is no longer a safe jab.
Wait, maybe switch to the side, maybe? Let me see. Try it. Oh, there we go. Okay. What the fuck?
Yeah, as you can see there, Pot used to be able to safe jab there, and it's dead. Now there is an alternate route where Pot could go this, and that'll still safe jab, but it's different where now Pot used to be able to get Pot when he does a proper +8 safe jab, he can get 5p close slash and it'll link. But in that new safe jab routing, it won't do that. So that's a big
nerf.
Nerf, yes. It's relatively small, but it is a nerf, because being able to route into a safe jab in corner was a massive part of Pot's kit.
What do you think was the purpose? Do you think they purposely did that to get rid of that, or do you think maybe they were trying to buff like something else and it took that away? What's the...
I highly doubt it. I think they just wanted to make consistency across the board, and they just unintentionally nerfed it. I mean, I would be surprised if they even knew about the setup, because relatively there's only like 3 pots properly doing that.
Okay, and then let's get into what we were talking about before. So Hammerfall, talk to me about that.
Yes, Hammerfall, one of the biggest changes, because it not only affects routing, it also just affects scramble situations. Last patch, if you were to Hammerfall your opponent, they would be able to tech, and you wouldn't be able to catch backdash without a hard read, Kara flick, or just to like walk up 5H. And even then, the Oki situation wasn't great. Now, hard knockdown Hammerfall, which means Pot is going to be able to get a true Garuda. This is pretty important, because having a true Garuda against opponents, especially non-DP opponents, is basically, you know, free strike throw. and being this close with Hammerfall is just devastating for the opponent.
Yeah. I remember one thing I remember that you told me last patch was Pot struggles a lot versus deflect and burst, but now with obviously burst gain being slower, and I believe in positive as well, but just no, like being on the screen, obviously you don't gain as much burst from getting wall slumped or wall stuck or wall broken, right? Not as much burst being built as you're getting hit. How does that look for Pot in terms of, we know he has high health, right? He has guts. I think he's like top 5 in HP. So how does it look for him now fighting opponents that aren't gaining as much burst to use on deflect or burst them away? How does obviously yeah. I think it's a buff, but how big do you think it is for Pot?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I think there's buffs and nerfs to it, because at the same time, deflect shield on knockdown, the problem is if your opponent has a DP and you're Garudaing, you typically need to keep yourself spaced, and getting deflect shield at this spacing, if you can deflect shield, blink it. Yeah, I mean, look at this pushback. It's immense, and the problem is with the white water salt change, before you could white water salt in, and even though it was spaced on block, it's now -3. You don't really want to be spending 50 bursts just to be -3 back in this position. So because of that, it is a bit more punishing for your opponent to reaction deflect shield. But at the same time, there's always risks with deflect shield, because you could Garuda PRC Buster, and if your opponent's deflect shielding, well, they're just gonna lose 50 burst and 50% of their health, which isn't great.
Yeah.
So, but overall, it sucks that Pot has less opportunities to burst because of those universal changes, but it's not. You don't notice it as much, because at the same time, you're going to be getting because of your lower defense, you're most likely going to get wall broken a bit more often.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're going to be gaining that burst. That burst gain still exists, and it's still going to be good for Pot players to be able to have more opportunities. Deflect shield's annoying, but you're a strike throw. Pot's a strike throw character. You can handle it.
And how does it look? The nerf to, obviously Pot has white Wild Assault, so you weren't really breaking the wall with Wild Assault to get the hard knockdown, right? And obviously post wall break as well, Pot's Oki was pretty bad. One thing I was talking about with MJ when discussing Johnny is he's glad that they removed the Wild Assault hard knockdown, because Johnny's Oki was pretty bad. So now that other characters don't get Oki, he's fine with it, right? He views it as a buff. Is it a good change that, I mean, obviously it is, characters not getting to run their pressure, not get their win cons as easy. How big does that help Pot, like on the defense?
Oh no, it's a massive change, and it's an overall buff. I've stated this before, removing hard knockdown wall break does nothing for Pot, because the thing about Pot is when you broke the wall, there's not a lot of value that you would get for hard knockdown, because the problem is when you would hard knockdown wall break, you only had one tool to actually force your opponent to do something, and that was Kara Garuda. The issue with Kara Garuda here, and you can represent it real quick, or Mitchie get hit, is the issue with Kara Garuda here is that if you backdash, it does nothing. And last patch, you had no way to force them to not backdash, because you could just micro walk 5H to hit their backdash, but that's it. They would tech on the other side. There's really no value in Pot breaking the wall, and so honestly, it just wasn't worth it. So this change is very good for Pot, because you're going to be gaining that positive bonus, and you're still going to be in that same scenario you were in last season. And overall, your opponent's not going to be hard knocking down you. It was really frustrating to accidentally break the wall on Melia. Yeah, I did like 80% on Melia, which was great. But every time I got hit by Melia, I had to face 50-50 loops constantly, to the point that I just lost on block.
So one thing that I will ask, so obviously Pot's been considered obviously a weaker character for quite a bit. Obviously there was some debate on where he was before this patch, but I know that you were thinking he was on the lower end of the cast. I'm not asking where you think he is now, but off initial impressions from what you've played and from what you've seen, how do you think he'll line up with the rest of the cast? Is he going to be playing the game now? Is he where can you see him off
So
early impressions.
Pot's in a weird position right now because of how DP has changed. It's going to scale things a lot differently. Something we hadn't brought up yet is Garuda Pressure did become weaker because if you block and then I try to go for a Pot Buster and you DP, it actually loses now, which is a bit annoying for Pot because that is basically fundamentally strike and throw lose the DP.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with other characters now losing their DPRC, Pot is in an interesting position where proper play and good reads, especially if you can properly get those, those one frame safe jabs or auto time setups and force your opponent to make a hard read and guessing correctly on those, you're gonna essentially be doing so much damage and getting so much consistent Oki that Pot may be in a relatively good space this patch. It's still gonna be hard to play against certain characters. Gold Lewis is still going to be a problem. Johnny's going to be a problem this patch.
Yeah.
Characters that can play a grounded game against Pot are still going to see some good success because Pot has really with punishable normals, and the on normal hit there's not a lot of meterless reward. However, on counter hit and stuff, Pot is going to see a lot more, and so it's just really gonna weed out the characters that jump a lot, but it's also going to show who has good neutral in this game. If you have good neutral, you'll relatively do well against Pot, I still think. But metered Pot is going to really shake up the game.
So, what about in terms of like matchups that may have been difficult for Pot before, based off the first impressions of the changes? What are some matchups or archetypes of matchups that Pot maybe struggled with before, but now like you can see some light in them? Like, what is like, is he better against, like, what is he stronger against?
So I thought, I thought last patch it was annoying. I don't think Pot struggled in these matchups, but I thought it was annoying to play against, characters like Alpha or Milia. And while Pot fought a really good chance against them, it was really demotivating to just get hard knockdown wall broke and into another hard knockdown wall break into another one. Same thing with HC, where now these characters are going to have to, use a weaker mix in order to open me up and then spend their tension to break the wall. That's going to be something really big that I could see probably improvements across the board, especially just against Milia, Elfelt, Happy Chaos. Who else? Biken is probably going to be a little bit better because of that situation. Things like that.
Okay, nice. And lastly, I can't think of anything else as far as changes, but any last words or any word of advice to anyone maybe looking to pick up Pot this season? One thing that we forgot to mention is the JD buff. I completely forgot about this one, but to be honest, from someone that has fought Pot, I didn't even. The move already felt so hard to hit that it's kind of weird from my perspective that they reduced the hurt box even more. Maybe some characters are just better at it than others, but it already felt pretty hard to hit out. What are your thoughts on the JD change?
JD's correct. Okay, here's the thing about JD. JD is now, if you want to be punishing JD, you actually have to be the better player. I'm not gonna lie. And I played Tempest recently, and Tempest's 6P rate on JD was actually really high, but the majority of players have struggled. And I mean, I'll show you reasons. Try to 6P JD. It clashes.
Oh my gosh!
And here's what happens if you 6P it again. JD is very hard to deal with. You can 6P it still. You have to do a delay 6P when Pot gets really close to the ground, and that'll beat it. Like that, even though that was a trade there. But it's just demonic to the point that it clashes with a lot of things. I'm pretty sure if you DP, I need you to DP on Wake Up. Yeah.
Wow.
It's really irritating. And because of the new change with the HPB, you're going to be seeing Pot's 6P, JD a lot more off of the HPB, and they're just going to get reward. Now, JD doesn't always have the greatest reward. If you were to block it maybe around here, Pot is really only going to be +1, and being +1 isn't that great here, but this special cancelable So so it's gonna be RPS scenarios where you're gonna
I
have to either get good at 6 ping or you're gonna have to hold that.
Wow. Okay. Dang, that's that's better than I thought it was. I initially thought it was just like some whatever kind of just throw in there change, but
No, you can throw up the hitbox if you want. This hitbox is disgusting.
I'll put a
There's
picture on
no
the screen.
reason.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that is it for the notes though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we're missing anything else.
No, we haven't really missed anything else. I could have probably like broken down the 5H and Hammerfall a bit more, but everything else it's pretty normal. Like Hammerfall is just the one thing I didn't bring up is like maybe like an anti-air Hammerfall combo. Like if you jump, you could just like maybe pull it up. Like Hammerfall is really good at anti-airing, and now you get Oki off of it. So Pod is gonna have new roundings instead of like having to do something like this.
Jump.
Yeah. Before Pot would maybe do something like this because of inconsistency routing. This Oki was really bad, but now no matter the distance with an anti-air 5P, Pot is just always going to be able to get a good knockdown into a Garuda.
Dang. So basically, from the notes, basically what changed the most is he's just obviously more stable and consistent, but his Oki is way better than it was. Yeah, it looks like just a bunch of Oki changes, right?
Yeah, Pot can consistently get Oki way more often. Resets have died because of White Waldo Cell, and DPing is just much riskier against Pot now. There are some benefits because Garuda is technically weaker against DP, but overall, Pot is eating pretty well this patch.
And anything else you want to mention, or any word of advice to anyone that is looking to pick up Potemkin this season or this patch?
I mean, I always say I think Potemkin's a really fun character, and if you want to challenge yourself executionally at a high level, go ahead and try Pot. There is going to be some frustrations, but overall, like Pot is just fun to play right now, and especially consistency in a game plan is always some road to success.
Well, I will. If you guys want to get in contact with Adam, I will put his Twitter and his Discord on the screen. I don't believe you stream, right? Correct me, I don't think you stream.
Rarely.
Okay, well, I'll also put his Twitch on the screen in case he ever does stream. But yeah, thank you for coming by, and thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.